you start.
All right, here we are. Target parking lot this time.
It's our new spot.
It's our new favorite spot
Um,
where we stay cool.
yeah,
It's our studio.
our studio.
Yeah, it's our sound studio.
Okay. So topics. I was going over topics with you. Oh, why don't you want to talk about mental health? Or why are you tired of mental health?
I'm tired of mental health because working in it, I feel like it's super draining.
Okay, so you're just exhausted from
Working in
working
and
in
being
mental health.
surrounded by it, because people have issues, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like they say, like when you work in it, you're supposed to have like a balance, work life balance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding it hard to like do that because I'm just like so annoyed with like the people at like all the clients. I'm just like, I feel like a lot of people who seek out help, like it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like some people go into it and they're just very like, I guess egotistical is the word. They're very like,
Why?
because they're just like constantly like me, my
Mm,
problems, and like they can't see that like the world doesn't revolve around them. But
interesting.
like it's hard to, it's, I don't know, I feel bad for me even thinking that because they're there to like work on themselves, you know?
Right.
So in a way you have to be like a bit self-centered, but I don't know, I just find it very annoying.
That makes sense. You work with a lot of people that have like disorders, right? Like
Yeah,
mental
like
health
a lot of
disorders.
I mean, if they don't have like disorders, if they're not bipolar or anything, they're just, you know, they just have trauma.
Hmm.
They've have addictions.
Okay.
Um like they just have anger issues, like things have happened to them in their lives. They've been to jail, you know.
Hmm.
Life is, it's just been like a hard life for them, I
Right.
guess you would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they live there?
Yes. And I've never worked in an all female house, but I've been working in an all male house, and oh my gosh, these guys like complain about everything. Like they're divas, dude. Like
So they live in this house, and are they like allowed to go out of the house by themselves?
no, they can't leave
Okay.
because they're in treatment, and it's like the
Is it
first.
like a rehab
It,
kind of
yeah, it
in a
kind of,
way?
it's not called a rehab because they're also working, they're working on their mental health. They're not just working on like their addiction. They're
Addiction.
working on
Yeah.
everything, but they obviously, you know, can't do drugs, can't drink.
Hmm.
They're in recovery, and they can't leave during this first stage for up to 90 days, but it depends on insurance.
Okay.
Like 30, 60, 90.
So you don't have the same clients then if it's up to 30, 90 days, right?
Um, I mean, you do for a while for that amount of time, and then yeah, people are coming and going all the time.
Do you have a client that's been there for like years?
Years, no.
No. Okay.
We did have one at outpatient where you can stay there longer. He was there for a year, but that guy was awesome.
Damn, that's crazy. And so they check themselves in. Is that how that works?
Most of them check themselves in. Some of them are court ordered to
Oh.
go. But those people, like, they don't take it seriously.
Hmm.
They don't think anything's wrong with them.
Does the government pay for that when they're court ordered?
I don't think so.
Probably not,
I'm
right?
pretty sure it has to be insurance paid. Yeah.
Damn.
Everything's either like insurance majority or out of pocket, but that's ridiculous because it costs like thousands of dollars a day to be there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So are you still thinking about being a therapist?
It's not on my mind currently.
Because we
And
talked about it briefly, but we didn't like go into
yeah,
too much of it.
I think for sure if I'm gonna do therapy, I want to work with kids or like teenagers,
Okay.
like adolescents, because I feel like they still have a chance. They're still like figuring themselves
Right.
out. So it's
They've,
kind of a good
yeah.
time to get to them.
Hmm.
Where like adults, like they already think they figured out life and everything.
True, true.
And like, dude, adults just like annoy the shit out of me. Like they act just like kids.
Yeah,
So
but worse because you're like
because
you shouldn't be acting like this because you're an adult.
they're literally just like
Yeah.
kids, and but they're not. So I'm just like pissed. I'm like, you have, I don't know. Obviously, like a lot of them have been through stuff and like have serious issues, but I'm like, might as well work with kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think I can be a therapist. I'm glad
You've come to that
I came
conclusion.
to that conclusion. I know like I said, we talked about it.
You said you were thinking about it.
It's just something that I don't think is best for me and my mental health.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I used to work with kids, with behavioral disorders for a long time, actually.
Yeah, how many years did you do that?
I think, I don't know, I think like 5 years.
Five
Yeah,
years?
I'm
Dude,
pretty
that's a
sure.
long
Ew, this
time.
guy's being creepy.
What the hell?
No way.
Oh my gosh, if he pees. Dude, if he
Peace.
pees, I would be so disturbed.
You know, this is disturbing. I don't like that he's just hanging around here.
Why is he just right
I
there?
know, what
It's
a
so
weirdo.
weird. I think he has to pee.
Go over there.
Okay, the show must go on. I'm just kidding.
I just don't want to move because I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to mess anything up.
Okay, so anyway,
Dude, I don't even know what
what
you
was
were
I talking
saying.
about?
You were saying like my mental health.
Yeah, so it's all about me. I'm just kidding. No, so I was working with kids who have behavioral disorders, and it took a lot out of me. It honestly drained me. Um,
I bet.
and I realized I don't want to work with kids.
It's like the opposite.
Yeah, I realized I didn't want to work with kids anymore. And it was really hard for me to get out of that field. Like,
It was
I had so many years of experience after a certain point that the only companies that would hire me were the
the
same
same.
companies, basically,
Yeah.
working with um, behavioral issues. And and then I just kept applying to those type of jobs after some point because I was like, fuck, well, no one else is hiring me and I need to still keep making money. I might as well make more money. So I kept
Oh,
increasing my pay wage
we're doing the same
in the
thing.
same field. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just like I was getting paid more for doing the same job, but I was like I'm still not happy. Like it's not about the money.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's honestly not fair to these kids that I'm not putting my all into this and
Mhm.
I'm not happy doing this.
Mhm.
And I think that is wrong for me to stay in this field. So, which
Mhm.
is why I like pivoted and I just went to work at Enterprise. And
Yeah, you're like I just need like
I,
something different.
yeah, I just like, I needed something. And Enterprise was the only place that was like, okay, we'll take it, whatever. Like, it was still a hard job to get. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I went to a couple of interviews and like rounds of things that I had to do to get that job.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a good paying job, but like I said, there is its own toxic environment.
Yeah.
But I just needed something to get me out of that field, and that
Mhm.
was the job that got me out of that field. And
Yeah.
then I was able to like move around and not just be working with kids, you
Mhm.
know? Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what you have to do sometimes, just like do something completely different to get out of that field cuz like they're hiring like a lot behavioral health. Like
right, right.
they're always sending me emails and I'm like I almost did that, remember?
Yeah.
Like even during the training I was like I can't do this. Like it seemed like it was going to be so hard because of their like mental
I
disability.
was really lucky with a lot of my clients that I had that had behavioral disorders. I've never got hit. I never got spit on. I never like,
Yeah.
and none of that ever happened to me. Luckily, like I worked well with, well, a lot of my clients were just chill.
Mm.
Um, and over time, there was one kid that I really got attached to. Like I felt like he was
Yeah.
like my kid,
Oh wow.
not like my son, but like I was like I took pride in the work that I had put in, and I saw his behaviors change like drastically,
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
so I took a lot of pride into that. Um, And yeah, it's kind of sad because like I still think about him sometimes because like now he's probably like 9. I started working with him when he was like 4. Yeah,
Whoa, that's so little. That's
yeah,
crazy.
it was crazy. He might be older. I'm not doing the math right now.
Yeah, like 9 already. Okay.
Yeah,
You did it for a
it was
long
actually
time.
really creepy because I the first kid I worked with, he was also 4. He was about 3, and then he turned 4, and he was a high functioning kid, and I had his mom's number saved in my phone, right? Because like working with kids, you do need to have their parents' numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was about like a month ago, I think. I came across, you know how Facebook's weird, how if you have people's numbers, like
They recommend
they
it.
recommend things.
Yeah.
And let me just like
Oh my
clear my name
gosh.
out here because I don't go on Facebook to like chat and
I
socialize.
know. I'm like, you're so on.
I go on Facebook to go on the marketplace because it's actually really
Um.
good.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like people in your area, so you don't have to drive far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the kid that I was working with, his mom showed up on my Facebook as a suggested person,
Hmm.
and she has a picture on like her profile page, and it's a picture of him and his sister.
Aw.
And this kid is like I said, I started working with him when he was like 3 turning 4, and now he looks like an 11-year-old.
He's all big.
It's crazy. And I was just like,
What?
what the hell? That's what he looks like now? Like,
Yeah.
so crazy.
That's
Um,
cool. That you got to see a picture of him.
yeah. So it's just like interesting to
Yeah.
kind of creepy though. I hate
Being
social
a
media
being
for
a
these
creeper.
reasons.
Yeah, I miss the kids too that I worked with in Oregon. Like
Hmm.
I wonder like if they're still there, like how they're doing. Like I miss the kids a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's just something about kids that you're just
Well,
like
you were working with like teenagers though, right?
I was with 13, 14 year olds, so yeah. Like I guess they didn't feel like teenagers, they felt like little kids and their
Hmm.
minds are even younger than that
Hmm.
because of like all the stuff they've been through.
Right.
So they felt like they're like 10, 9 or 10, I guess. They're 13.
Yeah, it's crazy how you like can't keep in contact with these people.
Yeah.
It's
Um
also weird because you kids.
HIPAA cuz and their kids. Yeah. But it was cool at that job cuz we didn't have to talk to the parents at all, so.
Yeah. So as of now, I'm just like, I think I'm good on being a therapist. I really thought I
Mhm.
wanted it because I still do want to help people, but obviously there's other ways
Yeah, there are.
to figure out like a way to help people.
Yeah,
Because I do think mental health is important.
for
Um,
sure.
when I started doing therapy, like it wasn't something I thought I needed.
Mhm.
And over time, just like being consistent with it just like helped me like see a mirror of me, I guess.
Hmm.
As there were sometimes I would talk to my therapist, and I haven't gone in a while actually. It's
Uh-huh.
been a minute. But there were sometimes I would say things to him and I would hear myself out loud being like, this is a thought I never thought I would say. Like it was the first time that I actually thought these things when I say them out loud to
Hmm.
him. And it was interesting. And I think it helped me reflect a lot. I think that's the most important thing of like
Hmm.
like trying to do better for your mental health is just like being aware and like
Yeah.
reflecting a lot and forgiving yourself and other people.
Mhm.
I think that's important.
Do you think you learn more about yourself in therapy or like doing mind altering things?
Drugs?
Yeah.
um
Jags.
well, not drugs. I don't want to say drugs. I'm not a drug addict.
Yeah.
um
That's why it is mind
I would
altering.
still, it is mind altering, but I would still say therapy, like
It's still okay.
it was still like a strong tool that I needed and
Mhm.
used. And I think
Mm.
if you're honest with your therapist,
Mhm.
and you know, not that like shrooms don't help you reflect because they do. It's just like I don't know. Like I think because of all the things I learned, Sometimes like when or if you're like smoking, even smoking weed and stuff, because like weed makes you think a lot too.
Yeah, I hate it.
Not that I haven't smoked weed or I've smoked weed in a while, but
It's been a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would just say this guy is weirding me out.
He's still there? I don't see him.
He's right beside you.
Oh.
He's like, I'm waiting for a pizza.
Where's my pizza? He's being
Weirdo.
so weird. Okay, he's like semi leaving now. He's looking
He's
at us.
he's just
He's
looking
like, what the
at
fuck are
us.
these girls doing? Alright. I think he has a mental health issue.
I would just say that you learn things in therapy, and then when you're doing like a substance that makes you think, you can also reflect even more.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
But yeah. Um, I don't know. Shout out to my therapist, Milton.
Milton? Oh my gosh. Is he like old or
He's young. He's
he's
probably
young?
only a few years older than me.
Was that weird for you at first or
Yeah, it was.
okay.
But okay, so like I requested a Latina, and I didn't want anybody to be old either. So it was like it had to be a specific thing for me,
Mhm.
and they couldn't do it. So they're like,
Wow.
next best thing is a Latino male. You good
Oh,
with
okay.
that?
It's not like a white guy or anything.
No, it's just his name just happened to be that.
Milton.
Um,
That's cool.
and he and I like was nervous because I was like, I don't know how I feel about just like how is a man gonna understand like my woman issues
But you're
or
like a man,
or
so
shut up. That's not true. I am very feminine in my own way, but yeah, I
you
am
know what I mean.
like tomboyish.
That's not what I mean.
I don't know what you mean then.
You're like, what the fuck?
What do you mean?
I mean, like you're what's the word? Assertive, like a man.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay, like my demeanor, I guess.
yeah, and like just like kind of like your
You're like, cause you look
characteristics,
like a
and
man.
like look at your eyebrows. I'm just kidding. No, like the way you act and question things is kind of like I don't know. I guess how men are
Masculine, maybe.
masculine. Yeah, like how men are supposed to act. Like you ever met a feminine guy and they kind of just like go with the flow and they listen to their girlfriend all the time and
Hmm. I do
to
understand
me.
what you're saying now. I was like, what the
Am I
fuck
being
are you talking
sexist?
about? Bitch.
You're like, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, in some way, maybe that's why, I don't know, maybe, I think my therapist would get annoyed with me sometimes. Like
Mm,
you're saying, how, like, it's always like me, me, me.
mm-hmm.
But for me, in therapy, I'd be like, but then this and that, and then someone else, and so, and then it's like almost obnoxious, and I'm hearing myself say, like, I need to refocus on me and like talk about
Mm,
myself too.
yeah.
Because sometimes he'd be like, okay, well, who cares about, your family or like whatever, whoever you're talking
Mm,
about, like,
yeah.
it's about you. So how do you feel? Or
Yeah.
like,
You're not focusing on yourself
yeah.
completely.
And so that was like another thing that helped
Interesting.
me. It helped me actually like set boundaries too.
That's important
Yeah.
for
Because
sure.
I had to like think and be in situations where I'd be like, okay, no, I need to set boundaries. Um,
Like in all situations in life or
yeah,
yeah.
just in general.
Yeah, boundaries are super important. I'm pretty bad with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you have a hard time setting boundaries?
Cause I'll be like saying yes to things that I'm like not fully
Do you
like
think
I
you're
want
a
to do.
yes person?
I don't like fully think I'm a yes person, but I've been told at work that I'm a yes person.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't picture this.
Yeah, there's like I guess if like clients like want something or like a favor or whatever, like I'm always like saying
Yes.
yes, I guess, but I don't I guess I do. I just never noticed it. So,
Do you do it out of the goodness of your heart or do you do it because you want to be better
um,
at your job?
well, I didn't notice I was doing it because the people that I say yes to are the ones that I like truly enjoy and I really
Mm.
do want to like help them out and like to me I'm like, "Hey, I'm not busy. I'm not doing anything else. Like, of course I'll take you like, you know, to the bank or whatever. Like you need help. Like I'm not doing anything.
Right.
So I am doing it because like I truly want to, but I don't know. At my job, it kind of taught me like I do need to set certain boundaries, or else people will like take advantage or maybe see things like the wrong way. And if I'm doing it
Interesting.
at work, I'm probably doing it also in like real life. So,
What do you mean when you say people might see or take things the wrong way or see things the wrong way?
they might think that we're like friends instead
Mm,
of like it being work. Like
right.
I'm working and I'm here to help them, but like I wouldn't say we're friends.
Yeah. I think that was something in the beginning of my like career as like a behavioral therapist. That was something that I had a problem with too, like setting
Mhm.
boundaries because the kids would become friends with me.
Mhm.
And there's still like a little kid inside of me where I can act like a kid too. But over time, like I had to get like strict and be like a
Mhm.
bitch. But then I
Yeah.
knew how to play. I knew how to play with the kids.
Mhm.
Um,
You gotta
so
have fun with them. Still, they're kids.
yeah, right. It
Yeah.
sucks when you're just like a dead person inside of you. Like,
Hanging out with kids. No,
yeah, they
can't
don't
do
like
that.
you. Kids always like me though.
Yeah.
I know that sounds creepy.
Kids love me.
Babies also love me too.
Probably give them food they're not supposed to have.
Um, okay. So how do you take care of your mental health? You said you have a coach, right?
Yeah, I have a coach. I talk to him like once a month at least, and we kind of just.
Do
I
you
feel.
tell them like really personal things?
Um,
Or have you ever told them
how
really personal
what
things?
would you like? What's an example of like really personal?
I don't know. I guess that it's like subjective. It depends on like what you consider personal,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I tell him about like past relationships. I tell him about
Yeah, it's pretty personal.
yeah. Then yeah, I tell him about very personal things. But I feel like when I first started talking to him, well, we're gonna interview him eventually. So,
Yeah.
but when I first started talking to him, I felt like, which was in like 2019,
Hmm.
I was like very like lost and I didn't know anything about like emotions or like my own emotions and like what they mean and all that. So it was really really helpful when I first started talking to him because I was just like talking to someone in general.
Yeah, that's true.
As time as the years have gone on, I feel like he kind of just validates me now, and like everything I do and say, it's almost like I'm doing everything the right way.
Okay.
And even when I did see a therapist and I was in Portland, she was just like, "Yeah, you're doing everything great, this and that," and I'm just like, "Okay, cool." Like, but I still like then at that point I'm just like, well, I don't know what else to talk about. Maybe I'm not going as deep as like I could be.
Right.
Um, so like next
Do you
time,
think you struggle with that?
yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah,
I personally think you do too.
with going deeper than myself.
Yeah, I think there you have to catch yourself at like a moment for you to get deep. Because you and I have had deep conversations before when we were younger, and I don't know, like I think sometimes you struggle with it a little bit
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I do for sure. And like even in relationships, they'll be like, "Oh, like what is causing like that feeling or like whatever," and I'm like, I don't know. Like I can't go that deep for some reason.
Hmm. Because even like when we were applying to grad school and stuff, like just like reading some of your stuff, I was
Mhm.
like, I need more.
Yeah, yeah. That's like how it is. Like I'll just be like surface level, and then it takes me a while.
Why do you think you have this like shield? It's like a shield. Is
I
it like a protective mechanism or
maybe I don't know. Like I have no idea. I mean, it's probably because I don't want to, because I don't want to know like what's like really going on, like deep inside.
you're avoiding something?
I don't know what it is though.
That's
Yeah, I
interesting.
mean, what? Okay, yeah. One of the residents actually told me this because I was telling them about a time I had done shrooms twice in a year, very close together,
Hmm.
and after that, like weeks after that, I started having like very dark thoughts. I don't know if
Okay.
this has ever happened to you.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, just like in general, my whole life.
yeah,
Yeah.
my whole life is dark thoughts. I just started having these like deep ass thoughts like every day, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die someday. Like, what am I doing? Like, but it was like, I can't even remember exactly what I was thinking, but I was telling this like resident about it because we were talking about shrooms, and I was like, yeah, I never want to do shrooms again, like that close together, because I feel like it was because of that, and I feel like my like mind was like just way too open or
Hmm.
something. And she's like, you should really look into that. Like, why are you so afraid of like those thoughts? Like, those thoughts are trying to tell you something. And I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't like them. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
I hear you.
I mean, I don't see why anyone would be like comfortable with like having thoughts like that. But I think I
No.
was supposed to get, maybe if I like processed it a certain way, I would have like got a breakthrough or something, maybe.
Right, because there are people that that do shrooms. Like obviously people have their own preference of when they want to do shrooms. Most people don't want to have a bad trip.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but I think there's also some like goodness out of being in a dark place sometimes for people.
Mm.
Because then you can really find out like what's going on
Mm-hmm.
or have more ideas and really actually be stuck thinking about like why do I feel this way or why, something's going
Yeah.
on in your head.
Yeah.
Um so I think like maybe going into like doing something like shrooms like it's just like I think it's just a lot of like acceptance, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
You have to kind of accept yourself for who you are in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
Like the last time I did shrooms, I remember, well, I remember everything, but I just specifically remember sitting on the toilet and peeing and being like, I'm so proud of myself. Like, I'm proud of like the
Hmm.
little me who,
Yeah, you told me you were like remembering your child self or inner
yeah,
child.
and I just felt like proud of myself because I've like
Mm-hmm.
overcome, things in my life. So it made me, there was like a couple moments where I was just like thinking about that and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about like who I'm becoming and I feel proud of myself and I think the little me would feel proud too.
The little me. Yeah, that's a really good realization for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know, it was just a good feeling to have
Mm-hmm.
because I've been in a lot of dark places before and
Mm-hmm.
I think like now right now I feel good about where I'm going again. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's good stuff. Proud of you too. I hate when people say like, unless they're like my mom or like my sister, when people say they're proud of me,
Yeah.
because I'm like, who are you
To tell me it's
to
like an
be?
insult, it's like
It's not
condescending.
like it. Yeah, kind of like. Why are you proud of me? Like you had nothing to do with this.
Well,
Like
you know like good chunks of my life. So, I mean, I don't take that as like an
I'd
insult.
rather say like I am happy for you,
Yeah.
not like I'm proud of you because I didn't freaking raise you or anything. Like I didn't tell you to go and do
I
therapy.
feel proud of people I know. Like I tell them that I don't want to be or come off condescending.
Yeah.
I am proud for certain people that are doing good things in their lives.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for a lot of people, that's for sure.
yeah, that's good. You can't be mad at everybody or
No,
hating on everybody.
no, I'm not hating. I'm just like saying, I don't know.
Yeah,
People
I'm not
tell
proud of you.
I'm not proud of you at all. Like you should have done that shit a long time ago.
It's just like nice to like finally feel good, And I know that's like very simple in general, but it's like it is nice to
Yeah,
feel good.
I remember like when I lived in Oregon, I was driving to work and I was like, damn, like I work so much because I was working two jobs and I only had one day off. And as I was driving to work, I'm like, I'm like so happy right now. Like I don't know. I just was like, I'm just so content. Like everything is good.
Yeah.
like that, just that feeling of
Mm-hmm.
everything is good, even if
Everything's
something,
okay.
even if something went wrong, like it's still all good. And I'm like, how is that? Like I've been literally so busy, but it's because I was enjoying like the things I was doing.
Right. Maybe you were like in the present of everything too. And maybe you just felt good about yourself. I think that's like the most important thing in trying to do good for your mental health is
Mm-hmm.
feeling just good about yourself. Who cares about everybody else? It's feeling good about who you are
Mm-hmm.
and where you're going on your journey, you
Yeah.
know? And I think people lose sight of that, and I think that the word mental health is overgeneralized right now, and I think it's overused in a toxic way at
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. um I think even like corporations are overselling the term mental health in the
Mm-hmm.
wrong ways sometimes. It's like, especially it's like when it comes to corporations and capitalism, they're trying to sell you to make you think this is good for your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever product it is, like your face, or like your body or just things like that. I don't know.
They're trying to put like a value on it, or
Right.
like a materialistic value on it.
And they put like colors, like these light tone,
Yeah.
like
What
pastel colors that are like, oh, that is good for my eyes. So I think this is good for
yeah.
my mental health.
What have you seen that's like trying to portray that?
I just see that a lot, especially on like companies that target women a lot. Like
Mm,
your mental health is like, you know, not saying that like you can't, get facials and that's not good for your mental health. I
mm-hmm.
just think people are like overusing it
Yeah,
to try to sell something. Yeah.
self care, mental health. Like I know a lot of like alcohol commercials kind of do that. They're like,
Really? I haven't seen
yeah, I
that.
can't remember one specifically, but like as I've watched like beer commercials, they're like live good or like enjoy life and this and that, and I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
you know
You're right.
what, like yeah, I drink, but this could be bad for like so many people. Like I don't know, I feel like they could be like beer, alcohol sells itself, like you don't need to be
Right.
saying all that.
That's
It's like
true.
showing people like on vacations and all this stuff, like it could be like that, but
That's true. Those commercials do target people to make them be like, I want to be like that.
yeah.
Not that all people are stupid and they're just like, I want to be like this guy on the beach drinking a Corona,
Yeah.
but the way they're like portraying it and the way they're phrasing and using
Mhm.
specific words, like it can
Yeah.
trick people subconsciously to even be like, I want to feel good, so I'm gonna
hmm
drink.
Even like, especially whiskey and bourbons, I feel like they try to make it seem like it's very classy and
Mm-hmm.
elegant, and you're
Yeah.
like, upper class or whatever. So you're like, ooh, I want to drink that. And like, I mean, they do that for everything. Cars,
True.
like they
Yeah.
want you to feel a certain way. They're trying to adjust your mental health, the way you're gonna feel about yourself. You buy
Right.
this thing,
You
you
just need
do
to
this
keep
thing.
buying more and buying more,
Yeah,
and then you're gonna finally feel good about yourself. But that
yeah,
doesn't do shit. Like you
yeah,
really need to do the internal work and ask yourself
yeah.
these fucking questions that you don't want to ask yourself, and look at yourself in the fucking mirror and be like, this is who I am. Do I want to be like this? Or do I want to be better? Or
hmm
did I do something wrong in during the day? Did I hurt somebody's feelings? Like
mm.
really like reflecting on the things that you do, and maybe you didn't do something good, but like forgive yourself and do better next time?
Is that what you do? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day or whatever?
Not every day,
Okay.
but in interactions that I have with people, I do reflect on like my interaction with them, and
Mhm.
I don't know if that's just a part of me. I'm very like, I don't know when I became an anxious person. And I'm not going to say I'm like overly anxious because that's also not me.
Mhm.
But I do like overthink situations and encounters a lot. And I also have social anxiety. So I reflect a lot in those interactions.
Mhm.
And I think about like, oh, I hope they didn't interpret it this way. I didn't want to hurt their feelings.
Mhm.
I didn't want to stay because I know I'm aware of how I speak to people sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's not my intention to hurt people's feelings, but sometimes I am going to be annoyingly honest
Yeah.
on what I think or how
Do
I
you ever
feel.
feel like the way you're thinking is like no one else is thinking like that?
Um, I used to think like that. I can remember having those thoughts and being like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I bet you no one has ever thought this," or like no
Like
one's ever thinking this way. But there are a lot of fucking weirdos, so
I mean,
probably.
yeah, that, but also like if you're in a group, like with a group of people, and like something's happening, and you're like thinking that you're like a certain opinion about it, and you're like, I bet no one else. I feel like no one else has the same opinion.
Oh, I see. Um, yeah, I guess it is weird, but I think, I mean, this is probably a good thing about like social media is that when I was younger, I used to think that I was very weird and I had these weird thoughts and no one else thought like me because I just like couldn't, relate or somebody else couldn't relate to what I was saying or thinking. And then, as social media has developed, I started to see there are a lot of people that do think like me too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comforted me into feeling like I could even do this podcast because there are probably some
Mm,
people that think like me.
yeah.
Um,
So there's always gonna be some other people that think like you.
yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe not on everything. I don't think that's
for
good
sure.
or healthy to even want to
Yeah,
know or be friends with people that think exactly like you.
yeah, that's true.
Um, but yeah, why do you ask that?
Just because of like recent scenarios that have happened at work, like people will like something will be going down at work and everyone's like, yeah, well, like we should do it like this, and I'm just like, what? Like, no. Like, or people are like making a big deal out of things
Yeah.
like all the time, and I'm just sitting there like, dude, it's not a big deal. Like
Yeah, that's true.
that, but like I feel like that's just how I am, like super like nonchalant
Yeah,
about.
you don't think a lot of things are a big deal.
I don't think a lot of things are a big deal, and I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think I has to be either, but like I'm just like, dude, why don't they just freaking chill? Like,
I think I think trauma has a lot to do with people's reactions in certain situations.
mm-hmm,
Trauma and anxiety. So how you were raised.
mm-hmm, for
Well,
sure.
actually, yeah, how you were raised can actually be traumatic. So you are more alert in situations and you're like, I
Yeah.
can't do it like this because of X, Y, and Z, or something happened. And that happened in like when I was younger and I can't
Mm-hmm.
do this now. And I really have to avoid this situation because it's not
Mm-hmm.
safe. And
Yeah.
that's what people are doing constantly. They're just trying to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why change and risks are hard for people to do because everyone just wants to be comfortable and safe
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because something bad could happen if they do otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe for you, you haven't experienced too many
Like
situations.
unsafe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, probably that. And like the way I see things is like I try to find like the simplest solution. So I feel like trying to like, I don't know. Sometimes things could be avoided by like just leaving it alone. In my opinion.
That's true because a lot of people don't realize that time heals just a lot of things and it
Mhm.
resolves a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it also gives people time to think about things.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, just in a situation, like, let's say someone pissed you off and they didn't mean to. And then you go home and you think about it and you kind of just like keep thinking about it and you're like, oh, they probably didn't mean it like this. Like,
Mhm.
this is going on in their life. Maybe they just said it like this because
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have time to just like, I don't know, decompress about it and just like let it go. And you're like, it's not
Yeah.
that big of a
Just give
deal,
it
actually.
give it some time, let your thoughts kind of like sort out, and you'll realize it wasn't just about you. It's kind of like something maybe they're going through, and like,
Yeah.
things could have been taken the wrong way. But of course, like action has to be taken sometimes, and
True.
yeah.
You need to put your foot down.
But like the longer, I mean, I've only been working in mental health for like a little over a year now,
Mm-hmm.
and like the longer I'm doing it, I'm realizing that art is so important, and I just find myself like going back to the things that I used to love even
Mm.
more, like photography and film, and just being like, damn, like this stuff you enjoy like effortlessly
Yeah.
is so important. And as much as I like want to work in mental health or wanted to work in it, I'm just like, some like art is just the way to go.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, if you can still make people happy through art,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and I don't know, just therapy in general. There are so many other ways to define or express or experience therapy. And it doesn't have to
Mhm.
just be very, although one-on-one does help
Mhm.
for some people, but it doesn't just have to be that.
Yeah.
I also think like group therapy helps too.
I've never done group
I've
therapy.
also never done group therapy, but
Yeah.
in my imagination, how I picture it, I'd imagine that that's
I feel
also a
like
good experience too,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I've been at my job, I've been to the group therapies, but I just would sit in. I'm not like like being in therapy. I just would like to see like the process of it,
Right.
and I see that it is helpful because like you get to learn about other people, and like you can relate to their experiences even though it's not directly tied to you.
Yeah.
So I think group therapy could be good, and like I don't know, were you guys talking about AA in the last episode a bit?
Maybe.
I feel like you guys brought it up, but I also like AA meetings and NA meetings, like those are also super beneficial, like
Oh yeah, I do
so
remember
inspiring.
Jesse mentioning AA.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know
remember
why you
why.
guys brought it up, but I was like thinking about it, and I'm like,
Hmm.
AA. I'm not even obviously like in recovery or an alcoholic, but
Right.
as I've gone to like those meetings, I'm just like, dude, these are sick. Like they're so inspiring and like can help you in
Yeah.
different areas of your life.
That is a form of like group therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Like hearing people's stories and hear them like overcome like whatever obstacle, it
Hmm.
kind of like puts things in perspective for you. Like, oh
Right.
shit, like okay, like I need to go and like handle whatever you've been dealing with, type of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
What? Well,
yeah, I just think meetings are super awesome, and I never knew about them until I started working like in that field. And there's
hmm.
even meetings for people who aren't addicts, but like if their parents are or family members and
Right.
stuff.
I've been to one of those.
That those seem cool too. I don't know if they are though.
Um, I personally, I was young, but like
mm.
for me, I didn't like being there.
Mhm.
I I didn't even want to accept things about like my family, so
Mhm.
I just didn't like being there as a
Wasn't
kid.
the
But
right time maybe.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm sure for some kids it does help,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
think when you're a kid, you normalize a lot of things,
Mm.
and so you don't feel like anything's like really wrong until like maybe later on. At least that was in my experience. I'm sure there are some kids that are like, this is wrong,
Yeah.
and it depends on what's going on too.
Because when you're a kid, like you're naturally just more carefree. So.
Yeah, and I normalized a lot of things
Mhm.
in my family, in my household, and
Mhm.
so like it was until later on. And I think that's why I needed therapy the most too later on in life, is because I had normalized and internalized everything, and I like started seeing that like that stuff wasn't okay.
Mm.
And so I started to be like kind of freak out, and it would make me anxious, and I didn't know how to handle it because like as you get older, you think about like being a kid. You think
Mhm.
about being a teenager and even being a young adult like in your 20s. And you're just like, or sometimes you're like sharing a story with someone, or like they're like, damn, that's crazy, I'm glad you pulled through, or like I'm glad you you're better now. And I'm like, wait, what? Like,
You're like it wasn't that
and
bad.
then I
What?
started thinking about it. I'm like, I guess that was kind of bad. Like,
Yeah.
and and then it's a little overwhelming because now you have
Mm,
to re-accept things that have already happened in your life,
mhm.
realizing that maybe it wasn't the best for you or it
Yeah.
wasn't a good situation.
Mhm.
um and I know I'm kind of like avoiding things by like not explaining what's going on, but I'm just not ready to talk about everything
Yeah.
either. So
It's an ongoing process for sure.
yeah.
Mental health and like working on yourself, learning about yourself. Like you're just continuously going to be learning more and like readjusting and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, I for me personally, my therapist was like kind of my fallback when I felt
Mm,
overwhelmed and I felt like
yeah.
I needed like someone to talk to
Like an
about these
unbiased.
personal things that I'm
Mhm.
starting to have. I have to accept that happened in my life, you know.
Mhm.
Um
That's really important, like
yeah.
accepting.
And maybe it's not like crazy like abuse or anything. It's I mean it's not, but like
Yeah.
it is just like other things that happen in like family and you know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be severe cuz like the way it affected you for a reason.
Yeah, and that was like another annoying thing that I would always say to my therapist. I'd be like, I know like what I'm telling you isn't like severe,
Yeah.
like crazy, but like this
Yeah.
is how I'm feeling. And he'd be like, stop saying that because like
Mhm.
you're here for
Yeah,
your
and
own
there's like a
reasons.
reason you're probably saying sorry about it. You feel bad about it. Like
Yeah,
there's probably
right.
some deep reason for that.
I just feel like I'm hyper aware sometimes where I'm just like I feel the need to apologize or like burden someone with all like my shit when
Mm.
maybe I seem like I'm okay,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I seem like I'm okay.
Well, you did say earlier that you're doing
I feel
good.
good. No, that's in my present state.
Yeah.
That's not like in my past.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Not that I've been killing it or feeling this great my whole life. I have not.
Yeah. No, yeah, you do seem like you're doing really good. And like I noticed that you'll admit like when you're not and you're like more aware of it and stuff.
Yeah, so it's weird. But I also felt similar to you in my early 20s where I just had a hard time like opening up,
Yeah, I feel like that's why we connected so much.
right? We are just like
Obviously, we were just doing the same shit, like avoiding our emotions, and
true.
yeah.
There was for a long time I wouldn't cry. Like I couldn't
Oh yeah,
cry.
I didn't cry for years. Like, yeah, it took me a while. Like even in some movies, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Like,
Yeah. My mom was like, "You saw I mean, this was when I was a Catholic apparently when I was a kid. I had no
apparently,
choice.
yeah,
She's like, "You didn't even cry when you saw Passion of the
yeah.
Christ." I was like, "I don't remember watching that movie."
You're like you're lying. Yeah, I feel like we both were kind of working on that at the same time too,
hmm
and we had to take a break from each other because like we would just be crazy and avoid everything.
Oh, I know, and maybe that's where alcohol helped too.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, like how much we would drink, or like the times I would like want to get super drunk, and I'm like, I wonder if I was like going through something and I just like didn't realize it.
hmm
But obviously, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think we were obviously like we were probably avoiding something, but
Hmm.
for me, like I said, like I also was just having a good time.
Yeah,
Like
it was
we were
good
young
fun.
and stupid, and a lot of young 20-year-olds can relate to, or even
Yeah,
if you're older now, you can relate to being stupid when you're in your 20s and
yeah.
doing dumb shit. Maybe to avoid shit, because life is hard when you become a young adult.
When you graduate high school and you're like, I don't know,
Yeah, like
mic drop.
you don't know what
You
you're
don't know what's
doing.
going on.
You're
I
just like,
was
what
so
the fuck?
confused.
Where am I supposed to
Yeah,
go?
first it's like being born, like, but you're
Yeah.
conscious of it. I was like at ELAC, I was at PCC, couldn't get classes. I'm like, damn, this sucks. Like,
And I think it's like it's funny to share our experience as millennials because I want to say like being a millennial is a difficult thing, and I know there's like this huge age range of like what a millennial is,
mm-hmm.
but as far as like our age group of being 30-year-old millennials, it was and it still has been so tough
Yeah.
in this goddamn economy. Like when we graduated high school,
It was
even
still bad,
it
right?
was so bad. Like when we were seniors, we had a terrible experience, and a lot of that had to do with all these budget cuts that we kept having to face. And I felt myself like comparing my year to other years that I've seen,
Mhm.
and them having all this fun
Yeah.
and not having as much restriction and regulations on things,
Mhm.
and us just like not getting any of that.
Our senior year was shitty. It
Yeah,
didn't seem like a senior year to
it like
me.
nobody cared and nobody wanted to invest in our senior year for us to have a good time, so
Yeah.
we didn't.
You think that affects us now? you
We're
think we're
just we're
like
grudgeful.
you think we need to do it over?
But we graduated in a really hard period of just like our economy, like,
yeah,
and
because
it
that crash was in like 2008.
it
We graduated in 2010,
10
so
we completely got the like remaining
yeah.
backlash of it. And not only that, but I graduated my middle school year in 2006. Well, you did too. 2006, right?
Mhm.
And it was like that was leading up to a big crash. So it's
Mhm.
like well, at least at my school, well, I went to a poor private school. I know that sounds funny.
Poor
I
private
know that
school
sounds funny, but it's true. We were like right by the projects and like we never had
ghetto.
money. And what
Damn.
one time they caught the priest. He was stealing from the church.
Oh
It was some
damn.
crazy
Okay.
shit.
Ratchet
Um,
private school.
yeah. I mean, I liked it, but still,
yeah.
it was a poor private school. And during that time, they experienced a lot of budget cuts too in my middle
Mm.
school.
Mhm.
So I was like, my whole half of my like experience of school just felt very like budget cuts. Sorry.
Yeah.
um,
I remember like middle school was so fun, dude. Like I just had the best time ever.
yeah,
And then going into high school, I was excited and I was like it was fun at first, but then shit got serious and they're like college and this and that and I started
yeah,
getting grounded and like getting bad grades and like in middle school I had like good ass grades. So I was like what is going on? like
yeah. It's just crazy to like experience like this journey in people that are our age, because
mhm.
like I said, like we got like leftovers of things.
Yeah.
And still now, I mean, like you said, like you couldn't get fucking classes going to a goddamn
Community
community
college.
college. And
Yeah.
it's because people were losing their jobs during the time that we graduated, and they were going back to school and they took all of our classes.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
it was just like
I thought it
it
was always like that,
it
but it
was more
wasn't.
competitive to go. No, I remember my mom telling me that like
Oh,
her coworkers or people that she knew were going
damn.
back to school during that time
That's
because
crazy.
they lost their job.
Yeah.
And so we were essentially
Damn.
competing with fucking 50-year-olds,
Yeah.
40-year-olds. And we're just like, why isn't there any classes?
But there was classes at ELAC for some reason.
Yeah. Well, PCC, I don't know.
yeah. PCC just had like a lot, and I think majority of our high school like went there. So
PCC. Yeah. And still, it's just like, here we are going through
mhm.
another recession or just like a economic crash. Something's gonna happen.
Something's coming up.
Possibly.
You can feel it.
I I mean, just like being in this economics class, yeah,
oh
I'm like
shit.
understanding it a little more.
Yeah.
Um,
That's scary.
not that I understand a lot because I
You're like, I don't know
don't.
what's going on in here.
But yeah, it's just like it kind of sucks because it's like I don't know. I don't want to be like, oh, poor me, but like, yeah, like I feel bad for millennials
mhm.
sometimes. I feel like
Yeah.
we've gone through a lot of shit. We lost 2 years of our like adulthood
Dude.
because a lot of people lost 2 years of their life because of the pandemic, but still, like,
Yeah. Okay, we'll go back to that. But when
we don't
I
have that much time. We have
okay.
6 minutes, but we can.
When I meet someone that's like 30 or 31, 32, I'm like you probably got some stories like you probably got some shit like that you had to go through like just for
Yeah.
being the same age as us. But Yeah, you said the pandemic. Honestly, 2020 was like my favorite year.
Really?
Yes, I think it's because everything was shut down
Mm-hmm.
and there was less pressure to go out, go to this, go to that. And like
Mm-hmm.
all I did the whole year was hike
Mm-hmm.
and spend time with my family. And I had a great ass year. Like
Yeah.
and I traveled not like, across the country or to other countries obviously, but like I felt like I was very very present that year.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great year.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, it was just too many changes for me to really reflect. I probably still have to process, but it was
Mhm.
still a good year.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like development and growth, like it was a really good year for me
Mhm.
because I did a lot of shit to just like move up
Yeah.
in where I
I think a
was.
lot of people had to like make huge changes, like that they
Yeah.
didn't have a choice.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about people in our age group now, and it's so hard to live up to that standard or norm of what used to be realistic,
Mm.
like getting a house at like 30.
Yeah, no, that's not. It's not
Or like,
happening.
you know, the norm of like getting married and having kids. Like no
Yeah,
one can afford to do that.
yeah, it's pretty
Like
rare
what the
now.
hell? That's why millennials are staying home with their parents.
Yeah, I think unless like your parents were like, "Hey, like this is the your path and you got to do it like this," and they're very like strict with you, like yes, it is possible that you could have been like on this very like well off, I guess, path.
Yeah.
But I feel like even our parents during that time were confused too.
Right.
They didn't know what was going to happen. So they're not going to freaking tell us like, yes, do this, do that.
Right.
Like I don't know, was your mom's like go to college. That's it.
Yeah, my mom actually told me, she's like, I know you don't like school. You don't have to go to college.
Yeah, so your mom's like you have even more options now like not to go.
Yeah, but I didn't have a path and I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody that could really tell me what to do,
Yeah.
even if I didn't want to go to college, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
A lot of us didn't, I think, during that time.
yeah, and it's just like crazy.
It took a while.
It took it That's why a lot of us are quotation marks behind. I don't see it as being behind. I see it as just
Yeah.
like this is just what you guys have given us. So this is the best we can do.
This is the best I got.
Sorry.
Take it or leave
There's
it.
no fucking money here and everyone's
Yeah.
hoarding the money.
Yeah, especially in California, everything here is like way like I don't know, people are just stingy out here.
Well, a lot of people are stingy.
They don't want to pay
It's not
the
just
rate.
California.
I think in Oregon they're a little less stingy.
Yeah, well, Oregon has its own cons too. It's just like places like Utah or like Idaho, like no one wants to live there.
No,
So
yeah. Well, people are wanting to live in Utah now, but I think they're Mormon.
yeah, so
Idaho, no, thank you.
I know.
Conservative, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's for another episode.
Yeah,
I'm
won't be
surprised
long.
we got through this whole episode kind of talking about like mental health
Yeah,
generally.
we didn't really like go off topic very
Yeah.
much.
We meant to go into like creativity, just FYI, but
Yeah, that didn't happen at all.
that didn't happen because mental health was really close to in the poll that I did. Mental health was actually pretty, really close.
I don't know what we should talk about with creativity though.
It was more like creativity experiences, music.
Okay. Experiences. It's a good one.
A lot of people like that episode that we did where we were talking about music, like
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Rocker
food
episode.
We can still talk about movies too.
Yeah, we can't talk about shows for like the next few episodes.
No, we've been
it's a restriction.
We've
now.
been talking about shows way too much.
Movies. Yes, we'll talk about the writers' strike too. Just kidding.
Because we're writers. Didn't we talk about it before? No,
I don't think so.
I was talking to somebody about it.
But all right, we'll end it here.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.